Minasan konnichiwa, Miru desu. So, have you ever stopped to think about what your daily commute might look like, say 10 or 20 years from now? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and really dig into Japan's official government plan for the future of getting around. And trust me, this is way more than just some dry policy paper. It's a vision that's set to completely change how we all travel, work, and, well, live.
I mean, think about it. This question touches literally every part of our day. We're talking about the train you catch in the morning, the package you're waiting for, maybe even the drone that could be delivering your dinner in a few years. So, no, this plan isn't just some dusty old document sitting on a shelf. It's a real, detailed roadmap that's all about the future of your commute, your travel, and your deliveries.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First step, we'll tackle the big challenges Japan is facing right now. Then, we'll get into the exciting stuff, the future of how we travel and how our stuff gets delivered. After that, we'll look at making everything stronger and greener. And we'll finish up with a peek at what's way out on the horizon. Let's get started. Okay, first things first. To really get where we're headed, we've got to understand where we are right now. Japan's transportation system is famous for being world class, right? But it's currently facing what you might call a perfect storm of challenges. We're talking huge demographic shifts and major global trends that are forcing a total rethink of how the entire country moves.
And the first challenge really boils down to one pretty stark number: 87 million. That's the projected population of Japan by the year 2070. Now, that's not just some random statistic. It's a massive, fundamental threat to keeping the whole transport network running. I mean, it really makes you wonder, right? How on earth can you keep train and bus services going across the country when your passenger numbers are dropping year after year, especially once you get out of the big cities?
And here's the flip side of that coin. So the total population is shrinking, but at the same time, the percentage of people over 65 is going to skyrocket to nearly 40%. That forces a total rethink of how everything is designed. Suddenly, every single station, every bus, every service, it all has to be built with accessibility in mind. Barrier-free design stops being a nice-to-have and becomes an absolute must. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. Check out this chart. It shows this incredible V-shaped recovery in tourism. After the pandemic lull, international visitors came roaring back. We're talking over 25 million people in 2023 alone. Now, that's obviously amazing for the economy, but it puts a ton of strain on transportation in popular spots. And it's created this new headache that the government is scrambling to fix: over-tourism. This next chart, this one really lays bare the system's weakest link. What you're looking at is a labor shortage index. And see that tall orange bar for the transport industry? Wow! It tells a really critical story. There just aren't enough people to drive the trucks, the buses, and the trains that we all depend on. And this isn't some far-off future problem. Nope. It's a crisis that is happening right now. And it's affecting everything from your morning bus ride to when your online orders show up. So, okay, with all those massive challenges laid out, you've got to be asking, what's the solution? Well, let's dive right into the government's plan for the future of how we get around and see how they're planning to make travel easier, smarter, and just plain better for everyone. When it comes to over-tourism, the plan isn't about shutting people out. It's about opening up the rest of the country. Think of it less like building walls and more like building bridges to all of Japan's amazing regional areas. The core idea is to spread people out by seriously upgrading local transportation, making it a breeze to explore beyond the usual Tokyo-Kyoto circuit, and even nudging people to travel during the beautiful, less crowded off-seasons. All right, a huge piece of this whole puzzle is a concept called MaaS. That's MaaS for Mobility as a Service. And honestly, the best way to get your head around it is to think of it like the Netflix of transportation. So instead of juggling a bunch of different apps and tickets for trains, buses, bike shares, and taxis, MaaS wants to pull all of that into one single super smooth digital service right on your phone. Just picture this for a second. Let's say you need to get across town for a meeting. You pull out your phone, open one app, and bam, it instantly maps out the best route, maybe combining a train, a small on-demand bus, and even a shared e-bike for that last little stretch. And the best part? You book and pay for that entire multi-step journey with a single tap. That's the real magic of MaaS. It makes using all these different services so incredibly easy that suddenly taking your own car feels like the complicated, inconvenient choice. So it's not just about us moving around. Those same pressures, the labor shortages, the inefficiencies, they're also hitting the entire logistics network. The whole system that gets goods from point A to point B, the thing that keeps our economy humming, it's feeling the strain. So the big question is, how does this plan fix that broken chain? And the strategy here is basically attack it from all sides, a real full court press. So on one hand, it's about the people. They're looking at reforms to make the jobs better pay, better hours, better conditions to attract more drivers. But on the other hand, it's a huge, huge investment in technology. And we're talking about some pretty cool stuff here. Little delivery robots cruising down our sidewalks, self-driving trucks forming these automated convoys on the highway, and even drones zipping out to deliver packages to remote islands and mountain villages.
But look, just being efficient isn't going to cut it. The whole system has to be future-proof. And that really boils down to two key things. It needs to be resilient, and it needs to be green. It has to be tough enough to withstand Japan's earthquakes and typhoons, and at the same time, clean enough to actually have a sustainable future.
So the plan is really built on two main pillars. Pillar number one is resilience. That means physically beefing up our roads, our bridges, railways, and ports so they can handle major earthquakes and floods better. It also means making sure there are always backup routes ready to go when disaster strikes. And pillar number two, that's all about decarbonization. We're talking about hitting the accelerator on the switch to EVs and hydrogen fuel, and even creating what they call carbon-neutral ports that run entirely on clean energy to fight climate change.
All right, so we've covered the solutions for the problems we're facing today. But now is when the plan really shifts gears. We're moving from the practical fixes to the truly visionary stuff. Let's take a look at how all these different ideas come together to give us a glimpse of Japan's next-generation mobility system.
And honestly, this is the part of the blueprint that starts to read less like a government paper and a lot more like science fiction. I'm not kidding. The plan is explicitly targeting the development of flying cars, or EVTOLs as they're called, to literally add a third dimension to city travel. It also lays out a path for fully autonomous cargo ships sailing along our coasts, and the ultimate goal, to plug all of this into these massive smart city platforms that can perfectly coordinate the flow of people, goods, and even energy. It's wild.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what you've got is this really bold, complex strategy. It's a plan that's trying to do two things at once: solve the urgent problems we have right now, the labor shortages, the aging society, while at the same time pouring money and resources into the game-changing technologies of tomorrow. But really, it all boils down to one fundamental question, doesn't it? Can this incredibly ambitious plan actually create a future where getting around isn't just faster or more efficient, but one where it genuinely makes our lives better and maybe even brings us all a little closer?
このチャンネルが興味深いと思った方は、チャンネル登録といいねボタンをよろしく。